Of course they're going to say that in the mainstream media. And of course they're going to have a statement from someone who said that, because they're only going to choose the crazy statements about them for their news article. They're not going to get articles that don't paint them in a good light now, are they? Yeah, g'day, viewers. Welcome to another Hang Loose Recluse Couch Potato investigation. In this article, I'm going to be flicking through the ABC News article because it's only been 3 days since the incident occurred where the shooting took place. Actually, 4 days. It's now Thursday, happened on Monday. And obviously, we're just going to point out here how the mainstream media just makes up... well, do they make up stories? But I want to know where they get this evidence from and have they got evidence to prove this? Because these people are dead now, so they can basically say what they want, make up all sorts of hit pieces on them. So anyway, so here we have... the story goes like this. Nathaniel, Gareth and Stacey Train carried out a deadly police shooting. Their twisted backstories revealed by Rory Cullen and Julia. Anyway, let's have a look at this. Dragging his schoolteacher wife by her hair up the stairs. Well, what's that innate of? What does that mean? Warning, this story contains content that readers may find distressing. Gutting wild pigs at the back of the school so a river of blood and offal ran into the football oval. Well, is there any evidence of that, or is that just hearsay, she said, he said, she said from someone at the mainstream media interview? Because what happens is the mainstream media put out calls for people to contact them with stories. So they're going to find any juicy bit, not fact check it and just run with it. Anyway, sitting in his yard on a chair watching his pig dogs mate, or disciplining primary school children by marching them home to their parents with their arms twisted. What the fuck? With their arms twisted behind their backs. Now, come on, this is a primary school principal in Australia. This is what they're trying to say about this guy. He was a primary school principal. Do you really think that happened? Don't be so gullible, people. Former colleagues and neighbours recount many troubling signs that something was not right about Gareth Train and his wife Stacey before they joined his brother Nathaniel on a deadly shooting rampage in Queensland's Western Downs. This, there it is. Stacey Train is one of the three offenders who ambushed police at a movable property west of Brisbane. Or was she? This week's shocking crime, which saw the trio gun down two young constables. So there's two young constables, but the trio gunned them down. I want to know. Okay, so the trio gunned them down. There's two people. It just does. I don't know. Did all three do it? Seriously, come on. Anyway, but for some who had contact with the trains, especially the education system, the deadly shootout did not come as a complete surprise. Well, of course, now they're all just going to come out and make up stories because they want to get heard by the mainstream media and talk shit about them. Obviously, what's happened is pretty messed up in Australian society, Australian culture. But the fact that the mainstream media is trying to label them and label everyone that thinks alternatively. Karen Sullivan encountered the couple when they worked at a far western Queensland school in the early 2010s. He was just crazy. He was a control freak, she said. They didn't bring a good vibe to the community. He always had it in him. He always had it in him. So they just knew that he always had it in him to shoot and kill a cop. Come on now. That you're saying that post the event. Now, would you say that he had it in him to shoot police officers before the event? Come on. Don't be ridiculous. Don't be ridiculous now. You're all jumping to conclusions. An ABC investigation has traced the movements of the trains as they worked at different government schools around the state, uncovering accounts of disturbing behaviour that saw students leave the schools they taught at in droves. The trio moved between jobs in regional or remote schools with the education department while fostering an unusual love triangle that saw Stacey leave her marriage to Nathaniel and take up with his older brother Gareth. Now again, two of them was allegedly school principals, but they try to say here they moved between jobs in regional and remote schools. So maybe they got principal jobs in rural or remote schools, for all I know. I don't know, but it just seems a bit odd. They're principals. Their principles weren't good. Anyway, Stacey and Nathaniel met through the Baptist church in Toowoomba where Nathaniel's father was a pastor. Well, let's start saying that all Christians could be capable of this. So where's the narrative that, oh my God, religious people did this? No, conspiracy theorists did this, according to the mainstream media. Anyway, according to a friend, Stacey married Nathaniel at age 18, and family sources said Stacey quickly became estranged from her family. While they worked as teachers around Queensland, the pair had two children who were estranged from their parents. In the early 2000s, they resided in the same property as Nathaniel's brother Gareth. Gareth briefly worked as a child safety support officer for the Department of Communities in Child Safety and Disability Services in the South Burnett region. Two police officers shot dead during siege. Queensland property identified. The two police were shot dead during the siege. Yes, that's just a continuation of the story that everybody's read. We would hear the boars screaming. Jane, who asked so are they the only people in Australia that eat animals? Come on, don't be ridiculous. Yep. Anyway, chilling moments. So basically they're going to ban everyone killing an animal now. So this is where they're going to use the farm thing and try and say, hey, let's ban farming. Chilling moments from Queensland siege captured in audio. The audio reveals the moments of police helicopter guides and specialist officers on the ground as the three offenders were holed up at a rural property and continued to fire bullets. Gareth and his dog soon gained notoriety in the town. Now, is there any footage of that lady doing what they say that she did? Was there any evidence of her holding a gun and shooting people, or any evidence of her running around with a gun? I want to see that. Or I want to know whether there's evidence of that, because the mainstream media certainly is running with it. Anyway, Jane's son, Paul, also not his real name, said Gareth became known for taking his dogs to the local swimming hole, which was frequented by children making a show of hunting down wild pigs. The wild pigs thing here. I'm trying to relate the animals to the incident. We would hear the boars screaming as he gutted them. It wasn't the only place the primary school students were exposed to Gareth's pig butchering skills. Paul, who attended the local school while the trains were there, said Gareth hung the pig carcasses up in his backyard, which backed onto the school. Doesn't sound like was there evidence of that? Then he would butcher them and the blood and offal would run directly out of the yard onto the school oval. There would be a smell of offal and blood running onto the footy field. Ah, come on. Yeah, sure, Ted. Yep, it's very, very glorious story. It's just glorified. Paul said the school children complained, but nothing was done about the stench. He also recalled Stacey or Mrs. Train in situating a special program to stop bullying, which only seemed to encourage the bullies. Of course they're going to say that in the mainstream media. And of course they're going to have a statement from someone who said that, because they're only going to choose the crazy statements about them for their news article. They're not going to get articles that don't paint them in a good light, now are they? Anyway, if you complained, you immediately got detention, he said. Now, did they? State school, primary school teachers, detention? Come on, who gets detention in primary school? Who gets detention in primary school? Well, some people might, but I did in year 7. That was about it. And 8. If you complain, you immediately got detention. He said, yeah, I'm going to give you detention for complaining. And the parents aren't going to complain about that. That's ridiculous. I had lots of mates whose parents pulled them out of the school. Yeah? Well, where are they? Let's hear from them. Jane said Gareth quickly took over the school. He ended up dominating the parents and friends committee, he said. Yeah, whatever. Sounds like just a big nasty thing, because no one's able to stick up and say, no, that didn't happen. Is anyone going to stand up and say, no, that did not happen? Because everyone's got the hatred towards them now. So that's what I'm wondering. I'm not saying they're fucking innocent. What I'm saying is I don't like the way mainstream media runs their stories and just peddles the bullshit to try and make it so the masses of Australian population, like even today I had conversations with people that are the sheep, the followers, the way people talk. It's all about what they read is what actually happened. Anyway, so I don't know. This is my view on this is the distrust of the mainstream media through the experience that I've had in recent times with the mainstream media and the bullshit that they do. This is why I'm going to question everything they do in a situation like this, because I want to see where they're coming from. They're trying to angle this to divide and conquer. That's what it is. Anyway, he would come over the grid at 100 kilometres an hour and he would miss me by an inch, he said. So that's another load of... He would come over the grid at 100 kilometres an hour. What, did they have a radar, did they? Now, that's just a figure of speech, 100 kilometres an hour. Now, it's okay to speculate and assume and say these things post this event, is all I'm going to say. Outside of the school, the trains never socialised with anyone. Fair enough. But yet everyone knows so much about them. Outside of school, the trains never socialised with anyone, but everyone knows so much about them, but they didn't socialise with anyone. Get it? I don't. Gareth was always there with her. He was a control freak. She could never say anything, Mrs. Sullivan said. She also recalled Gareth inserting himself into the school by becoming the secretary, the gardener, and the cleaner, and during parent-teacher meetings, Gareth either sat in on them or stood just outside the room. This just sounds a bit fishy to me. It sounds like it's non-reality. It sounds like Hollywood has scripted this. It's scripted. That's all mainstream media is scripted Hollywood garbage. She said Gareth started to physically discipline children when he was on school grounds. I don't understand how he could be the gardener, the cleaner, and do all that and be a school principal. Just don't be ridiculous. Show me a principal that does all that. No one. Come on, don't be ridiculous now, mainstream media. These guys just know how to glorify bullshit, but the sheep and public can't see it. The people who read this story and actually follow these fucking news sites cannot fathom that what they're saying could be just made up speculation. If he heard them swearing, he would send them home. He would put their arms up behind their backs in an arm lock and march them home. He'd put their backs up in an arm lock and march them home. What, all the way home? So their arms were in the back lock all the way home, were they? Yeah, okay. Well, I caught him doing it one day and told him, if you touch my son like that, you'll be in trouble. We ended up with no kids at the school. So there was no kids at the school, but he was still the school principal. So he was the school principal of nobody. Yeah, okay. Evidence of domestic abuse. Now, let's try and backtrack and go back to here. Let's see if there's any evidence of the fact that there was no kids at the school. Does the Education Board have any information on this? Let's see let's investigate the Education Board on these people and see what they come up with. So let's see what there surely must be evidence listed about this, if it's true. But if it's just some stooge from the local pub saying this, then it's just hearsay. Evidence of domestic abuse. Stacey appeared to be totally subservient. What I'm trying to get at here is they're trying to call everyone else conspiracy theorists, but basically this whole friggin' article is a conspiracy theory itself. It's like they're basically speculating on something without any actual fact or evidence-based research. Because surely they can look back and find out, did he really do what they're saying he did in this article? There's ways to find out the evidence. One resident, Minnie Kenner, who worked at the school as an attendance officer, recalled seeing Gareth assault Stacey. He was dragging her by the hair up the stairs into her house. It's a high house and he was just dragging. I thought it's none of my business. I didn't like to interfere, so I didn't say anything. Of course you didn't. So you didn't bother thinking to call the police when you witnessed a man dragging a female by the hair. You never thought to call the police because it's none of your business. What a load of shit that is. That is an absolute load of shit. That's just hearsay, but the mainstream media love it. Juicy stuff. Let's just push it. Because no one can prove that didn't happen. Just like they can't prove it did. Miss Kenner said she knew Gareth was strange after witnessing him watch the dogs mating. Come on now. What are they trying to get at here? They're trying to make it like he enjoyed watching dogs mating. I mean, come on. I thought, what sort of a person sits in a chair watching them? I thought, you are different. By 2014, well, maybe he was trying to breed them, and that's just what people do when they're trying to breed. They're being there to assist. I don't know. I wouldn't know. But that's all I'm trying to think now. People probably put them in the yard so they could breed. I looked, and he was there. So what? By 2014, the school community was in an uproar with parents like Mrs. Sullivan and others saying they made numerous complaints to the Education Department about the couple. Okay, well, let's hear about those complaints. I want to know whether that's fact or not. That's all I want to know. I want the facts, not the hearsay. She said many children left the school. I took my kid out. They said that before. Fuck yous. She was not a good teacher. Mrs. Sullivan said she complained to Education Queensland authorities in Mount Isa, local politicians, and even local priests to see if he could find a solution. Now, let's see if that's evidence-based. Education Queensland said all three individuals had worked for the department and resigned, but did not address questions about whether complaints had been received about the couple. So that automatically tells me that I think that it's a load of shit what the ABC just printed in those earlier comments, and I suspected that all along. In 2015, the trains moved from Cummerwheel to a school in the suburb of Happy Valley in Mount Isa. That year, the couple spent $95,000 on the rough bush block at Waynes Road in remote about 270 kilometres west of Brisbane, the property that would become the scene of one of the state's worst police shootings. Be one of Australia's worst, wouldn't it? The 43-hectare property, which came with a rundown 2-bedroom wooden house, 2 water tanks and a dam, is in an area known for residents with an enthusiasm for privacy. Property searches show the couple did not reside on the block. In 2016, Stacey was appointed to the principal's role on Cape York. A similar scenario soon unfolded in the isolated Indigenous community, with local families becoming increasingly unhappy with the trains, according to a community worker. She said the couple left after about a year. Education Queensland said Gareth resigned from the department's employment in May. If they were so bad, or this is really true, then they would have been banned or striked off the freaking Education Board. Anyway, refusal to be vaccinated. Also in Far North Queensland, Nathaniel Tran had shifted to a school near Yorkeys Knob, just north of Cairns, where he featured in a local newspaper with Christmas baubles and glitter hanging from his beard. He was described as a good-natured and mild-mannered principal. Well, at least, that's something different to what the other people were trying to say. So why would they say that if he wasn't? Anyway, obviously, it turns out that he's not a good person because of what happened, if that's what he did. He held various principal roles in North Queensland until 2020, when he resigned and moved to New South Wales. In 2021, he resigned as an executive principal from Walgett Community College Primary School after suffering a cardiac arrest. 2021, the New South Wales Education Department confirmed he refused to get the COVID-19 vaccination as required by the department. Now let's check that. I'm hearing reports that he did get vaccinated, so can anyone confirm that? Nathaniel expressed concerns about the educational policy he claimed to have observed at the school and spoke to the ABC in May 2022 about them. He sent several emails to the department during his time and made a raft of allegations about teaching and discipline issues at the school. He left his new partner and was the subject of a missing person report in New South Wales Police after his family lost contact with him on October 9. After his family lost contact with him, what, is that just his wife, his family, or, surely, I don't know. Who knows? He was last seen in Dubbo on December 16, 2021, but this time Stacey and Gareth had moved to the Tara region, about 60 km west of Brisbane, where Stacey was appointed head of curriculum at Tara State Shire College. The Education Department says Stacey resigned from a role at Tara in December 2021. In that same year, Gareth is believed to have been posting on Australian conspiracy websites in support of anti-government, anti-vaccination stances. The posts written in Gareth's name have not been verified as being written by him, but police say they are investigating the train's online activity. So there you go. The proof is in the pudding. The post written on Gareth's name may not have been verified as being written by him, but police say they're investigating the train's online activity. Last week, neighbours living across the road from the property owned by Gareth and Stacey saw a car drive into the property. One said the presence of a vehicle was unusual as they believed the property had not been lived in for some time. On Monday, Queensland Police Constables Rachel McCrow, Matthew Arnold, Keely Brar and Randall Kirk went to the property as part of an investigation of the missing persons report filed about Nathaniel Tran. What happened next is now part of a police investigation, but shortly after the officers arrived, the Trans opened fire. 6 hours later, when the siege was finally over. Now, earlier I read a post, and it was saying that they had surveillance cameras everywhere. Now, where's the surveillance? If there's surveillance on this, let's hear about it. Police Commissioner Carroll said the trains were considered to be offenders and the deadly shooter remains under investigation. She said she did not have the full extent of information of whether the trains were known to police domestic violence allegations or what weapons they were armed with. There are complexities here. The trains have lived in different states, so there's a lot of work to be done, she said. She said the train's involvement and history in the school system would also be investigated, and it could take months to get to a point where we know exactly what occurred and why. But meanwhile, now they just said that. It could take months to get to a point where we know exactly what occurred and why. But it takes the mainstream media 4 days to tell you all about their back history and tell you everything that they think they know about them as if it is the truth. So it puts it into the person's mind that's reading the article that that's who they were. So within 4 days, the mainstream media is able to obtain all this so-called information about these people and know it. But yet the report says here, it doesn't make sense. It could take months to get to a point where we know exactly what occurred and why. That's right, but yet I just don't get that. That in itself is evidence that the mainstream media just makes up shit and runs with any story. Anyway, I could contact the mainstream. Oh, yeah, I knew them. Yep, I knew them. They did this, they did that, and they would write about it if it suited their narrative. And that's what it's all about. The narrative. On Wednesday, Gareth and Nathaniel's father, Ronald Train, provided a telling insight into his son's mindset. Gareth was very, very difficult to control, very overpowering, and I just think that in the end he took over that relationship that Nathaniel and Stacey had because Gareth and Nathaniel were fairly close, because they were the two brothers next to each other. He told Channel, I haven't seen that thing on A Current Affair. I might have to watch it. But Ronald Train said he hadn't spoken to his two sons in more than 20 years. The pattern of estrangement... Well, it's 20 years if he doesn't know him, all right? The pattern of estrangement and isolation from their families followed all three throughout their lives, including from their own children. A trio of loners who will be condemned for their cold-blooded crimes. Stacey Train's employment timeline. Can't be bothered going over that, but you be the judge of that. I don't want to read anymore. But I do want to point out and make a little video on the fact that the media is saying, oh, they had surveillance cameras everywhere. Oh, this and this and this. Well, if they had surveillance cameras everywhere, then all the evidence of what they're saying in the official police story should be, as part of that surveillance, evidence. So please, people, request that we see evidence of what they're trying to say happened. Otherwise, it is all just hearsay. Anyway, once again, you've been listening to the Hang Loose Recluse Couch Investigation series of the Queensland Cop Killer Siege. Once again, it's a Hang Loose Recluse Couch Potato investigation. Thanks for watching this Hang Loose Recluse made-up story. Thank you.